President Trump today restated his desire to ensure peace through strength in his speech at the UN. Nobody knows more about that concept than my next guests, who are retired and former Navy SEALs. They are combat veterans and the authors of the brand new book, The Dichotomy of Leadership, Balancing the Challenges of Extreme Ownership to Lead and Win. Co-founders of Echelon Front, Jocko, Willink, and Leif Babin. Welcome, gentlemen. It's so great to see you once again.
Thanks for having us.
Your principles of leadership are, people love hearing your stories about your drive and your training, but there is a great application to running businesses and leading crews throughout life. And it's really interesting because you guys talk a lot. There was a balance between caring and leading. And when I saw one of your seminars here at Fox, you both got choked up talking about some of your fellow Navy SEALs, some of your fallen comrades. And it's tough balancing that, you know, having to lead a group of people, but still being so emotionally invested in them. Talk about that.
Well, that's actually the chapter that we start this new book off with. It's called The Ultimate Dichotomy. And you're 100% right. You've got these guys on your team that you've worked with, you've lived with, you've trained with, and you care about them and you love them more than anything else in the world. But as a leader, you also have a mission to do. And you know that everyone on that team wants to accomplish that mission. And so you're going to be putting those men that you care so much about into harm's way where they can possibly get hurt or wounded or killed. And that's a very hard thing to do. And when one of them actually does fall, it's very hard to deal with.
One of the themes in the book, which I love, as a lover of liberty, is decentralized command, because a lot of people think of the military and, you know, special forces as being top down and really centralized. How do you take the principle of decentralized command and infuse it into your workplace?
Well, it's something that any team is going to operate with decentralized command. Certainly the most effective teams. You know, the opposite of that is centralized command, where you have one leader who's trying to do everything. And we see some leaders that think they think that this idea of extreme ownership means that in the first book that we wrote is I control everything, and yet you can't do that. So you have to have decentralized command on the battlefield.
So you have to trust people.
You have junior leaders who are stepping up and leading, and it's no different for any business, any team out there. What's required for decentralized command is that the team understands not just what they're doing, but why they're doing it. And if the team understands why, if leaders all the way down to the frontline trooper who's not in charge of anybody else but just themselves and their piece of the mission, if they understand why, they'll be able to go out and execute.
I was talking to a woman at the bank today because I lost my debit card, and we were talking about small businesses, and she asked what advice I have for small business owners. And that's what I always think about. When I think about the economy and I think about tax cuts and families, it's the brave people who want to go out there and use their creativity and the little capital they have to really start something new. What do you tell someone who's on the fence about starting a project like that?
Well, they better be ready to be the person that answers all the questions. You know how many hours you work a day when you own your own business? 24.
That's right.
It never stops. And so you got to be willing to bite that off and chew on it, and it's going to take a long time. And, you know, our first book was called Extreme Ownership, and truly, when you own your own business, you're responsible for everything. And there's no one to blame anything on. There's not any excuses you can make. You're just going to have to own it and make things happen.
Yeah, and it's tough because when you only have a couple people working for you, you have to be really careful about who you bring onto your team. So what do you tell people about hiring someone? You know, so when you're looking at someone and you're assessing them, how do you know that this is a person that you can become invested in?
I think what you have to look for, often what the mistake people make is that they look for experience.
Yeah.
And they think, oh, if I hire someone with experience in this field, that I can plug them in, I won't have to really give them any oversight, and they'll just be great. And that never works. So what you should actually look for is the attitude, the mindset, somebody who takes ownership, someone who's what we call default aggressive. That means proactive to solve problems. They're a team player, they're disciplined, they're focused, and that person's quickly going to learn, and they're going to learn, they're going to understand what they don't know if they're humble, which is that's another quality that you should absolutely look for, and they're quickly going to run circles around other people.
The book is amazing, as are these two gentlemen, The Dichotomy of Leadership. Go get a copy for you and all of your friends and family for Halloween, because you should give them out instead of candy, right?
Totally agree.